Hey guys,
Hey,
Hi,
how's
how
it
are
going?
you?
how are you? Are
Good.
you guys at Code Whiz right now?
Yes, we
Yes.
are. Yep.
Awesome. So we'll just wait a minute and give some people some time to tune in. Hold on, let me adjust this. Cool. So how are you guys doing today? What have you guys been up to?
Just the morning routine. I usually take the kids down here to Code Whiz, and we have some kind of activity in the morning. Kate was on some meetings that she does for work as a web developer.
Very cool, very cool. And then life is crazy right now. Like life has changed. Like, you guys have two kids, so how are
Yeah.
you guys adjusting to that right now?
I think like everyone, we're kind of just taking it day by day. My our kids' school has done some virtual learning like everyone else's, so that sets a routine at least in the first half of the day most days. This week was spring break, so it's been 24/7 with the kids, and I've been
Ah,
taking that. Yeah,
Coming up with our own
right.
activities.
yeah.
So I've been taking them here to CodeWiz just because we're fortunate to have that as a space.
Hmm.
And with Lila, I'll do some kind of hands-on activity. She's 6, so we'll do Legos or there's a couple of coding apps. One's Osmo Coding Obby that we'll do.
Yeah.
Well, Caden will usually do something else. He's in a basic Python course that he just finished today. So he'll do work on that, or he'll have a schoolwork project. This week there was a big thing with the Roblox game called the Egg Hunt. So he's put a fair amount of time into that as well. But it is spring break. It's not, so there wasn't schoolwork to
Yeah.
fill the stars.
And you want to give them, a lot of freedom and opportunity to like hang out and be free and create because it is their spring break, right?
Right.
And you want them to have fun and be around, but now we're in this situation where we have to be isolated, which is kind of like the opposite of what you want to do during
Yeah.
Yeah.
spring break.
Yeah, and we've set up some
The time
Zoom
to
play dates and stuff like that. Where they've gone on with their friends, and they've really enjoyed those times. So they keep asking for them. So it's not the same as a real play date, but it's good.
It's been fun to
even
watch their individual interests emerge.
Yeah.
Now that they're with us all day long, we're learning that Lila loves to do arts and crafts and make lists and schedules. And
oh, that's like a
Kaden,
girl after my own heart.
exactly. And Caden has his own things that he likes to do. So it's been a really special opportunity to get to know them better too and how they learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, it's hard to try and stay positive with everything that's going on. But when I do sit down and think about it and think about, what is the good that comes out of this, it is, I'm working from home, but I mean, I get to spend a lot of time with my dogs and my pets. And my husband's working from home too, and we get to spend more time together being around each other. And even though sometimes it is complicated, two people working out of one home, which I'm sure you guys understand,
Mhm.
it is nice to be together, and have that time and soak that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get started, guys, welcome to the live stream. I'm going to pop this image up here. And so as people tune in, they will know what they are watching. Give me 1 second here. There we go.
Awesome.
Awesome. So, first of all, guys, let me put this down. Okay. So, guys, if you are tuning in right now, we are going to be talking today about online safety, screen time. We have Evan and Kate Gilbert here. They are the co-owners of CodeWiz in downtown Jersey City. And they're going to answer your questions and talk a little bit about how to manage that right now with kids going to school from home and how to balance that new normal we're all settling into now. So before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know if you have questions, feel free to write them in the comments section. But an even better way to submit your question is right there at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little question mark box. If you press that and submit your question that way, it actually notifies us that you have a question. So your question won't get lost in the comments. And we'll be able to actually post that question on the screen as Evan, and I like combined your name. I put like Kevin. Kate and Evan will be able to answer that question and everyone will be able to see it. The other thing that would be really helpful for you, really helpful is there's also an arrow button down at the bottom that you can share this live stream video with anyone who you think would really like to tune in to. So if you want to take a minute and push that share button, that little arrow button, and send this live stream to a couple people who you think would really like to be listening and have questions, then please go ahead and do that right now. So how's everyone doing? How is everyone doing out there? I see comments are already starting to come in. And what are you guys doing during this quarantine? How are you all out there managing working from home and being home with your kids? And what things are you doing to try and stimulate them and keep them busy? Go ahead and type those in the comments because we'd really like to see that too. You guys use quality time. So Sam says quality time with the kids, trying to keep them from killing each other. That's, I mean, I personally don't have children, but I know what it's like to have a sibling. So I know what that's like. Well,
yeah, fighting the boredom is a big one for us, especially with my daughter who likes a lot of hands-on, creative, kind of engaged activities. The downtime, the screen time wears thin with her really quickly, which is, you know, another challenge in and of itself. We're not limiting her screen time. We're trying to figure out ways to entertain her without screens because she's just not as into them.
Right. I gotcha.
One fun idea that I heard about that I really want to try is putting Lego guys in an ice cube tray and freezing them inside of ice cubes and then letting the kids play with the ice cubes in a warm bath and free the Lego guys from their frozen tail. So that's on my list for boredom busters to pull out of my sleeve next time.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like you're sending them on like an ice adventure, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's really. Sam says boredom is like a cuss word in our house. If you say you're bored, you get an extra chore. I think a lot of us can relate to that as well.
Yeah.
Best cheer to board, something to do.
Oh, you're so bored. Let me find you something to do.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we've all heard that. Okay, guys, so I'm going to get started. My name is Leslie. I am the managing editor of everythingjerseycity.com, and Everything Jersey City is a .com. A lot of people think that we are just social media based, but we have a website where we have an interactive calendar that you can add events to, and lots of articles that we write about Jersey City. And if you haven't heard me say this already, I feel like I say this all the time, but Everything Jersey City is all about the goodness of Jersey City. We highlight the goodness of Jersey City, the people who are making a difference in Jersey City. We want to shine a light on the people and residents and of Jersey City who are making a difference in the community that maybe wouldn't get mainstream media attention, but deserve recognition for what they're doing for the city that we love so much. So if you ever come across something that you think we should know about, please always feel free to reach out to us and let us know that person or that deed that you feel like we should know about, recognize, and shine a light upon. So that wraps that up. And I do want to introduce my fantastic guests today, Kate and Evan Gilbert, co-owners of CodeWiz in downtown Jersey City. They are here to talk to us about what are online safety concerns parents need to be aware of, how can parents protect their children online, and then safe ways for students to engage online, and why monitoring screen time is so important right now. I'm going to hand it over to them so they can tell us a little bit about themselves and what they're going to be talking about today.
Thanks, Leslie. We're really happy to be on your feed today and talking to everybody about this important topic. I know our household, like many households with kids, had certain rules and parameters around when we use screens and when we don't, and how much time the kids are to have on screens a day. And about a month ago, when we all hunkered down to fight coronavirus, all of those rules and traditions and guidelines in our family sort of just went out the window when all of a sudden the schools were inviting the kids onto screen time calls and assigning work over the computer. At CodeWiz, all of our coding classes went virtual. So as parents, all of a sudden we find ourselves in this new world where our kids could be on screens almost all day long. Mm-hmm. And we're asking ourselves, what is healthy and how do we keep them safe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this is something that a lot of people like need to hear right now. It wasn't something even the most active families now, you know, it's not just, you know, it's not a shaming thing like, oh, you let your kid be on the phone too much. It's that children actually need to be on devices, computers, online for school now. Yeah. And it's how do you navigate your way through that situation? It's incredible right now. And that's why I'm so glad that you guys are here today. Yeah. First, I just want to say, hi guys, how are we all doing? In case you guys missed it earlier, if you have any questions at all, there's a little question box right at the bottom of your screen. And if you type in your question in there, we will not miss your question. Feel free to type it in the comments as well. But if you type it in that little question box there, we are notified and will be less likely to miss your question as the comments are rolling in. Feel free to ask us your questions about online screen time, and there are no stupid questions. We just want to be here to answer everything that we can for you. And hi guys. Okay, so first and foremost, we want to talk about what are online safety concerns parents need to be aware of. I'll let you guys take it from here.
Sure. So a lot of the online safety concerns probably stem from unsupervised screen time, where kids are kind of in some app that's unrestricted like YouTube, or in a Roblox game where they're just playing with other people and they can get engaged with by unknown actors online. And so one great way to prevent that is to either do something like a private server or some sort of signed in account that your child has, so that you can limit the age, you can limit the privacy settings, and you can create a kind of a closed environment for them to engage in the activity that they're doing. It's, online is a wide open arena. It's not always going to be 100% safe, but there are precautions you can take, like setting up an account with a password protection, or going in and looking at the settings on an account or an app that you're using and trying to restrict those more. For instance, we have a YouTube channel for our son, but because of his age, when we set it up, it has all kinds of restrictions on what he can post, who can comment on it. All those things are preset because we set up an account for a 9-year-old. And so that's one way you can kind of mitigate some of the factors that you hear thrown around.
And a great way to get kids started on a new app and to learn what settings you need to tweak as a parent is to do it with them at the outset. The best time to teach your child how to behave appropriately online is when they can still sit on your lap, actually. Contrary to what we've heard about keeping screens out of the littlest hands, if you wait until they're 8, 9, 10 years old, they're already too independent. So these are conversations that parents should be having with their 4, 5, and 6-year-olds at that age where the kids are still ready for somebody to be engaging in the app with them. And it can be a fun time together too.
Yeah. So do you guys have examples? Because I have heard of some applications that people can download to help people manage their children's screen time. Do you guys have any recommendations on any applications that people can easily use?
We find for iPhone users, the built-in screen time app is the best that there is.
Okay.
Yeah, and that because that captures all of the time that the screen is activated. And it shows trends week over week. So you can sit down and review with your child. This week you were on your screen 30% more than you normally are. Let's talk about that. Why was it a heavy week? What can we do next week to get back to a balance that we're all more comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
Right, absolutely. So guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and submit them into that question box down below or write them in the comments, and we'll be happy to look at those. I do see that there is one question here, so I'm gonna pull it up now. Okay, so we have two questions here. We'll start with this question. It says, would love thoughts on screen time with infants, especially those of us who have to work from home with baby and don't have a partner or other family.
Yeah, so we actually have real life experience with that. When my 9-year-old was an infant, he was a nightmare in the car. It's all about finding a balance. Every time I would put him in the car seat, he would scream, and he loved to watch these baby Einstein videos that were just like floating toys on the screen. No live action. For the youngest kids, we don't want a lot of different colors and characters, but a kaleidoscope or moving images, even a slideshow from your photo album can hold a baby's attention, and treat screen time at that age as if it were a storybook.
Right.
Another tactic that I had success with and have heard friends use is FaceTime with grandma during a work call, and put the iPad near the young child and have a relative or a friend who's not physically there interact in real time with the kid while you're doing your work call or something else. That sounds really funny, but it's a tactic that can really help these days when, you know, our kids are home with us, but we still have to get work done anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have lots of nieces and nephews, and we FaceTime all the time with them. And it's funny because most of the time we end up FaceTiming with like their nostril or just half their face because they're holding the phone. They don't really understand that their face needs to be on the phone. But yeah, I think it is a little helpful to have that little bit of distraction.
It's really fun to ask a toddler to show you their toys. You know,
really?
go on for about 15 minutes and you'll see the ceiling and the carpet, but they are learning how to point the camera around the room, and you know, they're seeing that what shows up on the screen is not their face now. It's, you know, their toy shelf, and kids just love that.
Yeah, that's great.
I know one thing we did with our daughter that I used to do a lot with her when she was a little bit younger is like what Kate said, is just let her scroll through my iPhoto photos. And, you know, I'd end up finding a lot of like facial selfies that she'd take of herself accidentally,
a lot of photo bursts.
Yeah. But she seemed to really enjoy just kind of flipping through and seeing faces that she found familiar. You put a little music on and let her do that. You know, you're not going to buy yourself hours, but you certainly can buy yourself 30, 40 minutes where you can try to get something done. And what you find as a young parent is that you chunk time like that. And you grab that 30 minutes when you get it, you use it, and then you find it again when you get the chance.
Absolutely. So we have a couple more questions coming in. So let's see here. So here is a question. What do you think about apps that can communicate between people, such as TikTok and Fortnite? I don't know what that second one is.
Fortnite and Roblox are video game platforms for the most part.
Okay.
So I'll start with the TikTok ones. I would, especially for kids, under a certain age, say 10, 11, kind of down below that, abstract thinking and self-regulation. I would try to monitor that time or keep them off it. Or if you're going to let them use TikTok or apps like that, make it creative. Have them create their own videos on an account that's locked up or private, and have them engage with the app that way so that they learn how to use it as opposed to just kind of consume random videos that show up. And that way you can avoid some of those inappropriate videos that just you can't filter out. For Roblox, Fortnite, those type of games, there is an ability to disable chat. There is a way to set up private games. So with Roblox, you can set up a VIP server and invite their friends into that server. So it's just people they know in there. In terms of just letting them play on and on, Roblox has a cool feature called Roblox Studio, which is a downloadable 3D building environment where all their games are built. That can be a really instructional, educational way for kids to get better at typing, mouse control, understanding how code interacts with a 3D environment. It's certainly for kids 8 and up. It's something they can take on their own. There's tutorials online, so you can make that platform educational very easily. Fortnite, not as much. It is a game, and so I would simply recommend with just games limiting the amount of time they get to play, because those games can get addictive pretty quickly.
Right. Is there any kind of time frame that people suggest for how long someone should be playing a game like Fortnite? If you have a 10-year-old, how, is it an hour? Is it 4 hours? Is it 30 minutes? Like, what is the recommended screen time for something like that?
We're all from a generation that grew up with video games, and I certainly never had any limits on my video game time, and I wouldn't recommend that for people. I would say no more than 2 hours for kids 10 and up, less for kids under that. And I would, also, try to monitor their time or play with them once or twice to kind of feel like what's going on in the game. And not only that, how they interact with the game so that you can make sure they're doing it safely.
Awesome. I like to look at the children's television programming as an index for how much time by age. If you think of the littlest kids shows on PBS that are made for 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds, they're like 20 minutes long, because that's about the attention span. For elementary school age kids, shows are a half hour. And then when they get to be teens and adults, our shows are an hour or 2 hours long.
Right. So
think about that when you're thinking about how much time would be appropriate for your child to spend in a block on a screen.
Got it. So I see a question here. I'm hearing concerns about Zoom, which my kids are using a lot, even our church youth group. Should we be concerned about Zoom?
So that's a really popular question right now. And we use Zoom as the platform to interact with our students in CodeWiz virtual classes. And the way to make it secure is to set up the settings in the host account properly. Settings that we use here at CodeWiz, we don't allow the participants to share their own screens.
The host will do that for them.
The teacher could share a participant's screen, but the kids can't open up a screen share themselves. We also limit the live chat. Yeah. Our students can type in chat to the teacher, but they can't type a chat that will be shown to the whole class. We enable passwords for every meeting. You should not, this is different than last week. It's changing very, very quickly. Yeah. But if you're being invited to a Zoom meeting that doesn't have a password, you should be skeptical. And maybe write back to the host before the meeting starts and say, it would be more secure if this Zoom meeting were password protected. And that's a setting that the host account would set. And so you as a participant should be looking for password protected meetings that are hosted by a host that you know and trust. And
in addition with Zoom, I think a lot of the security concerns with the, Zoom, the sort of bombing videos or putting up inappropriate content come from having large meetings and a lot of people with access to that meeting. And when you have that, it's difficult to limit access in situations like that. And I think the Zoom platform wasn't quite built for younger users. And so I don't have personally, we use CodeWiz, we use Zoom. My kids use Zoom for school. We don't have a large audience in terms of hundreds and thousands of kids that are going to be accessing our Zoom account. So we're able to limit things in ways that others can't. If my kid was in a large, large environment with a lot of people signing in, I would want to just monitor it and make sure kind of he understands how to log in and understands how to use it. Whereas just kind of blindly letting them sign into accounts, you don't really know what's going on. I don't think a lot of the people using Zoom in the educational environment had a lot of training on how to limit access, put people in waiting rooms, make them raise their hands, things like that, which are built-in features. The host needs to really know how to use that. And I don't think a lot of the hosts who've been in these environments where there's been problems know how to do that.
Yeah. A host can remove a user from the meeting. A host can put a user in a side room to have, a side conversation with them. A host can mute a user, turn off video. So for us at CodeWiz, we're focused on training our coaches to moderate the meetings the same way that they would moderate an in-person meeting at our center. We also keep the numbers super low. Our classes cap out at a ratio of 4 students to 1 teacher on the virtual platform. And we find, especially with school-age kids, you need a ratio that low to keep everybody on focus and engaged and, appropriately getting something out of the Zoom.
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
And I see some comments. Always using a new Zoom link is another one. We as parents, we just need to keep an eye on all of this, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you are really concerned about using Zoom because of various paranoias that are out there right now and some of the incidences that have happened, there are other platforms. I see someone suggested Blue Jeans, which I've heard of is good. Google Meetings and Hangouts is also pretty good. Google Classroom, I know, works really well. Some of my coaches in universities are using that as well as using Zoom. And so, I think it's really important to engage with your student, engage with your child on this, and try to help them understand your understanding of why they need to act appropriately. It's not just kind of well, let's put them active in this environment they may have in the past.
And teach our children the same way that we teach them not to talk to strangers on the sidewalk or to accept candy from a stranger. Teach them what is not appropriate. And if somebody starts chatting with you online and you don't know the person, come tell mom and dad. Close out the chat window. We're here. We have to be supporting them as we all transition to being online so much.
Yeah, so basically the key component here is to be there, to monitor, to pay attention. And with the addition of the healthy tools and applications that you guys are talking about. So another question that I have is, how do we set a good example for the children in our household? Because it's one thing to say, hey, you can only be on your phone or on your computer for half an hour, but then what about mom and dad? How do we set a good example of monitoring screen time?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
I get those screen time reports every week on my phone, and it's definitely a challenge, especially when all of your work is now happening online on a screen. The texts are coming from your colleagues, as well as emails, as well as the Zoom calls. It's a challenge, and it's something you have to monitor. And one thing that I like to do is, if I'm taking a screen break, I try to get my kids to take a screen break with me, to show them the value of taking a break, to step back from it, as well as to say, listen, let's do something besides be on a screen, so that you recognize that screen time needs to be segmented, and do it by simply setting the example of taking a break and actually making it a break with them, whether it's just to go for a walk or have a silly dance party or take a snack break where they're not sitting in front of a screen, so that they can learn that breaks are kind of how you manage this, because you can't not be on a screen in this environment. It's just not how things are going to work, and so you have to figure out ways to segment it.
And we talk about our screen breaks as a matter of physical health too. Right. Our brains and our bodies need time to move around and to focus on things other than screens. And so there's a balance in our day where we'd put them down and do something off the screen. Yeah.
Well, I see we have another question coming in, and guys, just if you're just joining us, there's a question box below. If you have a question, just go ahead and throw your question right in there. It'll notify us so that we can make sure that we don't miss your question in the comments. Let's see. There we go. How do you manage improper ads that pop up on gaming apps? Is this some part of like the security settings?
So there are some settings you can do to limit ads. Creating accounts that have lower ages on them or the same age as your child can sometimes limit that. You got to remember that these platforms are largely ad revenue driven. Roblox and Fortnite have their own currencies that you can spend money on and buy things in the game, but they get a lot of money from ad revenue as well. And so they're not going to make it super easy for their platform to not advertise. Sometimes you can buy a premium account if you have the means to do that. But another way to do it is to look for games that don't have advertisements, games that you download. Like, so for instance, Minecraft is a download local install where when you're playing the game, you're not going to see ads pop up because it's just a local game playing on your computer. When you're playing these online games, ads are how they stay alive. And so it's, that's a challenge that there isn't a great solution for. Some of them let you limit it. Some of them let you limit it by age. But if you don't like the ads that are popping up on that platform, I highly recommend finding a different one that is engaging for your child until they're old enough to kind of understand the difference. That's just the limit of how these platforms are set up.
Okay. I'm scrolling back because I think I missed this question back here, but it says, tips for avoiding a toddler tantrum when ending screen time or turning off the TV.
That doesn't happen with just toddlers, let me tell you.
Oh, okay.
My best go-to on this is to present a different option or a different activity and give them a warning. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, whatever works for your kids' emotional stability. But make sure there's something on the other side of that endpoint with the screen. Even if it's just like, well, let's do a silly movement activity, or let's clean something up, or just have a little music time, turn the screen off and put the radio on, something that can, kind of give them a bit of a carrot, or just kind of like changes the environment so that it's not like all they see is that giant end of screen time.
Yeah. It's not about taking away the remote and then going back to your office and saying, read a book. Yeah.
I feel like did you hear that when you were a kid? Because I definitely heard that when I was a kid.
A couple times. Go outside.
Go outside. Find something to do.
Yeah.
Or I'll find you something to do.
Especially with the little kids, I like to think of it as an attention bank.
Yeah.
And so, especially if you're going to turn off their show and they're going to be disappointed, plan to soften that transition by depositing a little bit of time into their attention bank and spend those first 10 minutes after the show goes off doing something active with them, and then they'll get a little bit tired out and then maybe move on to an independent activity.
Yeah. Another technique I use, I'm really physically affectionate with my kids, and so I'll often say that if you don't get off the screen, the tickle monster is going to come and get you, and like chase them for 5 minutes and like tickle them, and that kind of can break the scene up enough to miss the tantrum energy, basically.
Yeah. I feel, I absolutely can identify with that. Like, just break up if you're staring at a TV show, it's kind of like when you're binge watching. Like you just continue and continue and continue, even if you don't want to sit there anymore. It's almost like you're not in control.
Yeah.
So
I'm
and then it
thinking
takes
of Law
someone
and
to
Order
come in and bring you
marathon.
out of it.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Sorry.
I'm thinking of Law and Order marathons back
back before Netflix.
Yeah, you just like keep going. Like and you need someone to come in and take you out of it. Absolutely. Let me see. Guys, enter your questions in the question box below if you're just joining. Here we
Someone
go.
just made a great comment. Moderation is definitely the key behind a lot of what we're saying. And they said to put the phone and screens away during mealtime. We're big sticklers on that. I think that's a really great way to make sure the kids understand that there's times where it's appropriate and times where it's not. And you need those breaks. Mealtime is a perfect time to say we don't allow screens. Yeah.
So here's a question that came in. It says, what if baby is only 4 months? Is it okay to have baby on work calls a lot?
I've heard about this where people are like holding their babies in their laps or feeding them while they're on the call. You have to remember that a 4-month-old baby is likely not going to focus on the screen. They're going to focus on who's holding them and what's in their physical environment. Mm-hmm. So the adult up here knows there's a grid of Zoom people on my screen, but the baby down here on our lap or in our arms is not necessarily aware of that. They're just happy somebody's holding them and that they're with another person.
And so, I've also found, I think Kate's found this too, this is an environment we're all in at the same time. And so I think what you're going to find is a lot of people are going to be quite forgiving and empathetic to your situation. And, you got to do what you got to do. If your kid has to be, in a Bjorn while you're on the screen doing a Zoom call, people have to accept that. People have to accept that reality because we're all in it. It's not, you're not going to change it tomorrow. And so I would say to that question specifically, yes, it is okay. And anyone who says it's not is not really understanding the situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. Here we have a question. Are there any programs that can block or screen invaders from accessing our child's media platforms?
That's a good question. None that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I'm not sure I don't know of too many programs that would blanket do that. I know that the settings within your devices can help with that.
We have to allow access for any app to see our media library, to see our camera, and to see our microphone.
Right.
So if the adult installs the app and sets up the settings at the outset and denies those access points, that would be the safest way to make sure that app is not going to secretly record video while your child is using it or harvest from the media library on your device.
Right.
Means that they are collecting data from you that they're monetizing. So I prefer to have fewer apps for my kids to play with, and maybe most of them cost $1.99 each or something, than getting everything free out of the App Store, because that ensures quality app developers. It's not a catch-all.
Yeah.
There are still issues on YouTube, which is made by the biggest app developer out there, Google, but nothing is really free. If the apps are free, they're getting something out of engagement.
What that makes so much sense. I never really thought about it that way, but paying that $1.99 or whatever the cost is of that quality application that maybe isn't going to take your data, as opposed to the free applications, that's, I feel like, very valuable information. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
An app maker, DuckDuckMoose, makes a lot of great apps that are low cost and really secure and without all of those in-app purchases.
Yeah. Anytime you're seeing ad-driven applications or ones where it's in-app purchases and things like that, and they give you the option to pay a small nominal fee to turn ads off. When they turn those ads off, they're they may still harvest your data somewhat, but they're not using it to pitch stuff to you or put stuff inappropriately in front of you. And you might do it for convenience or to avoid the annoyance of a pop-up ad, but it also helps with some of the issues that people are talking about.
Okay. So I have another question here. Sorry, we have another question here. And we did talk about this earlier, but for anyone that's just joining us, we'll just go back and you guys can talk about this again for just a minute. But how do you manage conference calls or virtual meetings without getting interrupted every 5 seconds by your children? Techniques and ways, and you can take it from there. I know we're repeating, but I know some people are just joining also.
Sure.
Yeah, we have a real-time example of this. One of our children's coming out of the room while we're doing this. And basically, if I know that I have a meeting that I'm going to have to do while my kids are home with me, I will plan to spend the hour before that meeting interacting live with my kids. So that, again, that attention bank gets filled up. They get tired out a little bit. Then I will put them in front of a movie or something special that they've been waiting to watch, and tell them specifically when I'm going to be back. I'm going to go do this meeting in my room. I'm going to close my door. I'd like you to stay outside. But when this movie's over, my meeting's going to be over too, and then we're going to go to the park, and then we're going to bake cookies, or we're going to take a bath. She said, "Oh, cookies."
So it what it kind of really sounds to me is just basically communication. It's communication between your children to make sure that they are heard, that they are understood, and that you are heard and understood. And, communication is the basis of any good relationship.
Exactly.
So that's what you guys are promoting when trying to monitor the screen time and this new way of working at home and all of that.
Yeah,
it's a give and take.
I also think, kids are kids. Their impulse control is not as good as yours. And so, even if you have an activity set up or you have a good system set up, I think apps that read kids' stories out loud, we found have been really good. Mm-hmm. You're still going to get interrupted, right? And so become a master of that video and sound mute button on Zoom or the other applications, and take a second, say, give me a second to your colleagues or whatever, and turn to your kids and say, give them eye-to-eye contact and say, I need 15 minutes where you leave, you work on this activity and I work on my activity. And most kids will understand that, even very young ones. But you may need to take that second step away, and that could help you avoid the constant just wait that most kids kind of present you with when you're doing something they don't want you to.
I'm also a firm believer in letting our whole lives be in our work life too. And the people who I do work Zoom calls with know that I'm a parent, know that my kids are not in school right now. I don't think any kids in the United States are in school right now. And if everybody can be flexible with each other, then we can all keep working together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In times like
it
this,
all comes down to understanding and kindness, right? We just all need a little bit of understanding and kindness in the world right now.
Yeah. And I might open a meeting with, just so you know, I'm home with my kids and today's been kind of rough, so we might get interrupted. And I thank you in advance for your patience with that. Yeah.
Acceptable.
Yep.
We have someone who said that they are writing in from Brazil. So guys,
cool.
We have reach.
Yay.
We have reach. Somebody said, would love ideas on how to manage screen time with Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, so Nintendo Switch, Xbox, they're game consoles, and so it's a little different than something where you can create a constructive environment or interactive thing. But with those, the same technique works. Set a time limit, and say before they get on that this event or this activity is going to be when we end. I'll give you a warning before we stop, so that the kids know that there's a warning coming, and when the warning comes, they know that to prepare themselves that it's going to end. I think those techniques work really well, especially with those things. As someone who, grew up on simple game consoles like Nintendo and PlayStation.
Super Nintendo.
Right. those games were divided up in levels, and those levels would kind of set places. You can say the next challenge, the next level, the next save point you get to, we're going to stop and take a break, and let be part of that break. Like Kate and I tend to coordinate our screen time with the kids' screen time or an activity as a way to set natural limits where we all have to stop at the same time, or we all take a break at the same time, so that younger minds and younger emotions can kind of get accustomed to the reality that you have to kind of self-regulate. And I think that's a good way to help manage that.
When you were talking about you get to another level and then you say, okay, that's the end. I remember being a little kid and playing a video game, and my parents would say, okay, look, when you get to the next spot and you can save, you're done there. And I would get to that spot and I would look around and see if they were looking, because they didn't play the game, so they didn't know where I was. So they would I would just look really quickly and keep playing, and I'd be like, oh, I'm still playing.
That's a great point.
It's about paying attention.
That's a great point. It's and that's it's something I do with the kids because I grew up playing video games. I play the games that my son plays, not on my own, but with him, and just I do it largely to kind of know what he's doing and know what the game is. Not also I like games, but it's a great way to kind of let them show them that you're interested in what they're interested in, and also what's going on, what the game is, and so you can have a better understanding of how to set those limits.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a fantastic live stream. Everyone who's watching, I really hope that you guys learned a lot. And I'm going to hand it over to Kate and Evan to talk a little bit about their business down here in downtown Jersey City. And also, you guys have some other businesses that you wanted to mention that could also help with what we're talking about today. So we've got about 10 minutes or so you guys can just take it from here.
Yeah, so we're located in downtown Jersey City, but we're now offering virtual classes. So we can actually welcome students from anywhere, regardless of geography at this time. Our virtual classes start at around age 7 or 8. The kids really need to be reading independently, and that's one of the most frequent questions that we get from parents. But if you have a child who's reading independently and they like Legos, or they like robotics, or they want to learn how to code, or they love Roblox and Minecraft, we have a great suite of classes where our code coaches are teaching the kids how to do all of these things in live small groups, virtually and together.
And I would look at this opportunity as a positive opportunity for your kids to gain some real practical life skills that we may not all think of as practical life skills, like how to use a mouse, how to use a keyboard. A lot of kids who have come into CodeWiz early on have only ever used tablets, and so the skill of how to type and how to navigate with a mouse and how to move files around and things are actually skills kids are picking up now that I think are really good for them to pick up in this new world. In addition to that, a couple of businesses that have had virtual classes with our kids, JC Ballet and Singing with Molly, have both run really great virtual classes for our 6-year-old, and she loves them. She loves getting on them. She's interactive in them. Highly recommend as a way to keep your kid entertained and engaging and learning and feeling, like they're doing something.
Music classes have been great. A Sound Start out of Jersey City is offering live online music classes over Zoom for younger kids. And I helped them get set up with their Zoom here at CodeWiz. And really, when she sits on the ground with her guitar and sings in front of the camera, it's no different than sitting on a circle in the same room together. And everybody still gets to hear the music, see each other's facial reactions, see friends, interact a little bit. Those are the things that brighten our kids' days. Getting a peek outside of the one apartment that we live in and the neighborhood that we can walk around, and traveling out of that by interacting with others virtually has really enhanced their days, and more than I expected it to.
Yeah.
I love that. We have a, you know what? I did have a question. So guys, Code Whiz is really fantastic. And I think it's really important because you're teaching children skills that they can go into the future with, because coding, building, being able to move files. I mean, that's the future of what our children are looking at when it comes to any job they have. Basically, it doesn't matter what you do, you kind of have to be savvy in these areas. So
and if you grew up in the environment of like the little floppy disks, you had to learn how to move stuff around just to use the device. In a digital world, you may not have to do that as much. And so I think it's important to have kids learn that graphic user interface and what's actually happening on the screen, not just click this button and something happens. You actually have to interact a little more. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then what are some of the programs? Because when you say we're teaching them coding or Legos, like when you're teaching someone Legos, because I was there and you guys built like a moving car or something, and you built like a robot, and you have a 3D printer there that the kids are learning to use. I mean, it's all mind-blowingly amazing. Sure. But what are those skills teaching them? How is this helping the kids move into their adulthood or teenage years? What are the benefits of all of these things that you're supplying them?
Absolutely.
So we really feel like coding is the fourth literacy. It's the foreign language that our kids need to be familiar with to be successful in the life ahead of them. And so we're teaching them to be comfortable with the internet and to know what makes up the video games that they love and what goes into the colorful and exciting apps and videos that they consume and that are so fun for them. Seeing the way that those things are built teaches them so much more about this digital landscape that they're growing up in. You asked about the tools that we use. Some of the software includes, on the coding side, the drag and drop builders, Code Kingdoms, and Scratch by MIT. Also Tinker. And on the, what other programs?
We also have some classroom set up in what's called Replit, REPL.IT. It's a platform where you can set up a course that students can come in and log into and actually work through problems. So we have ones for Python, Java, HTML, Android app builders in there. And we also have this cool platform we discovered as part of this situation called CoderZ. It's gocoderz.com. It's a virtual 3D Lego robot that you learn how to program. And so you're doing a drag and drop block coding of this little virtual Lego robot. And once we get past all this, you can take whatever you've built in that platform and download it onto the robot and have it work in the real world.
It's like building Legos on a screen.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
We also we use Roblox and Minecraft as well in classes, and we use Roblox Studio, not the game platform, the building platform attached to it. The skills that kids pick up in this is very wide ranging. A lot of math skills, a lot of problem solving skills. They learn a lot of logic and how to kind of, put things together and break down data and ideas into small blocks they can work with. My son's 9. He's learning the order of operations. He's learning some applied algebra, some XYZ coordinate systems.
He knows what a
variable is. Yeah, it's a really great way to kind of introduce concepts that they may not see till later on in school, but have a nice practical way to get it now.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you guys are not following Code Whiz, your Instagram is Code Whiz Jersey City.
Jersey City. Yep.
Code Whiz Jersey City, and we are everythingjerseycity.com. Please check out our website and follow us on Instagram if you are not. And guys, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. And it's always just so good to see you guys. And it's just, it's always a pleasure to hang out.
Well, thanks so much for having us. We love everything Jersey City, and we love what you guys are doing, sharing all the good news, and we're so glad that you invited us to have this conversation today. I think we covered a lot of useful stuff for parents.
I think so too. So guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to send them directly over to CodeWiz's Instagram. And guys, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.